want to take a moment to welcome everyone to the Watch This Shit podcast. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us. My name is Seneca, the movie professor. With this podcast, we're going to give you the definitive decision on whether you should go see a new movie or not. It's real easy. If we say, watch this shit, go out and enjoy some good cinema. If we say, don't watch this shit, avoid it as you would recording all of your movie's dialogue in patois with no subtitles. Or don't. You can do what you want. It may be fun, or may see your audience left with a case of the Christopher Nolans. You don't want to listen to us, you put your life in your own hands. I've already had several homies ask me about today's review film. So, up top, I want to say I much prefer this film to all of the other 2024 releases I've seen so far. That's not a glowing endorsement. But the question is this movie good? Let's talk about it and see. One thing that I hope is for us to find some positive momentum to start seeing some good cinema. The start of this year has been depressing. Maybe March we'll see some better films because January and Black History Month let us down. Hollywood needs to turn around this train before it derails. So, traveling to one of my favorite vacation spots via the magic of cinema was right on time. Today, we are looking at Bob Marley One Love, but should really be called Mini Love, seeing as how Tough Gong sired 11 children, only 3 were with his wife. Right into the story. It's fucking Bob Marley, world-renowned reggae superstar and legend. The man that is responsible for reggae touching the entire world, which led to that being one of my favorite genres of music. This movie only sees a slight glimpse into his youth and mostly focuses on his efforts to use his music to calm the gang violence of his homeland and unify the political powers at the time, all with just his music. That is true power. The ability to cause change with your energy that impacts everyone. We see the time period around this tumultuous time in Jamaica's history while Marley, his wife Rita, and his music try to make things better. Now, because the family members that he left behind are heavily involved in the on-screen action, he is never shown as anything less than a divine presence. I've been saying that's the problem with biopics. The subject can't still be alive or else you will not get a proper telling of the story. I just think about it if it was my story. I'm going to exaggerate if I have to just make sure everyone knows how awesome being me really was or is. Watching this film, it became apparent to me that there's another side of it. The kids need to be deceased as well. These are people that would have grown up worshiping the subject of the film and would not be interested in seeing him portrayed as anything less than amazing. We all know Marley was a man. I'm sure he had good qualities and bad. This film just glosses over the bad in favor of the good. To the point that there is more of a caricature of a man than an actual man. Leading to the next problem. Kingsley Ben-Adir isn't bad at doing an impersonation of Marley, but it's just an impersonation, nothing more. He has not embodied the character he is portraying. This led me several times during the movie to say I would much rather be listening to Bob Marley's albums or watching old YouTube footage of him performing. This is a much more watered down version of what we know to be incredible. Matter of fact, writing this, I had to put on Exodus. That shit is amazing. They gave us the highlights of the music, but never as deep in as a fan would really want to go. My favorite points in the film were watching the process of creating some of the iconic songs that we all know and love. The jam sessions were great. Hearing how each part of the song was added to the collective to make a song that would live on long past its creators. That was fun. Kingsley isn't bad. I don't want anyone to get me wrong. He's a pretty good actor from what I've seen of him so far, but he's not Bob Marley. Or rather, this film didn't allow him to be Marley. They played it way too safe. No hint, this could have really expanded the scope of the story. There was no hint of the possible United States involvement with his assassination attempt. Just a few random Jamaican thugs that had it in for the musician and ran up on him. In most biopics, this would have been a climactic event, but they popped this within the first 15 minutes of the film starting. They didn't have the they didn't have to outright say that the United States was coming after him because of the Cold War, Cuba stuff, but they could have hinted at it to give it some layers to the story. If you didn't know this was a conspiracy theory, it looks strange. Why did they attack the man? Shooting his wife in the head, putting 5 bullets in his manager. That sounds like a message from my perspective. The two that should have been fatally wounded did survive. Rita, because of the thickness of her dreads. That line had me laughing out loud. My girl's hair was so nappy it saved her life. That's the best part of the movie for me. Speaking of, Lashana Lynch. I really liked her in the role of Rita Marley. There was one scene where she took off her jacket and turned. Her bare back was so muscular. Lady muscles, though. And black. Quarter past midnight black. It made me look at her so much different. No, fuck that. Hello, night nurse. All of the roles I've seen her in, she's been the strong black woman character. There is a tenderness inside of her that is rarely allowed to be shown. Well, at least in the movies I've seen her in, right? The Captain Marvels and the Woman King, those type of movies. She's always been the I'm tough and I'm a woman, right? Again, Rita Marley, the real life person, is all the way alive and heavily involved in the story. So her and Bob's relationship was not fully shown. He had 11 kids. She has 13. Of those children, 3 of them were sired together. They were in a polyamorous relationship. That's fairly progressive, especially for the 70s. Or maybe I just didn't think people were open about it back then. I just knew he had a lot of chicks. I wasn't aware that she was getting down as well. But it is fair and makes a lot of sense. They lived outside of what society deems as acceptable. I wanted to see more of that aspect of their relationship. But they decided not to show it. As I said up top, I love Jamaica. The island is so beautiful, vibrant, and full of life. You wouldn't know it from watching this movie, though. Here, they mostly film the grimy underbelly. And then they run off to London for a large part of the film. Yes, it was rough during that period of time. But the place the music came out of, the dedication they had to their religion, there had to still be beauty in there somewhere. So we don't get to see the beaches, seas, lush forests, other than quick run-through shots. I guess I'll just have to go back and see it for myself. That's a good excuse to use the company dime to go play it on the sandy beaches of Jamaica. After the assassination attempt and concert, they pack up and head to London. This did get to show the creation of Exodus, and those were the parts that I thought were cool. But it kind of drug the movie down. I wanted to see Bob Marley in his hometown, in his native land. We only got to see it for a little bit. The part that was missing for me most, to make it a movie, was conflict. Yeah, there were small conflicts, but never really an overarching escalation of events. You know, the thing that makes a movie, a fucking story. It was more just following guy about his business, an extraordinary guy for sure, but still just following the day to day of a guy. I'm not the kind of person that thinks biopics need to be historically accurate. One of my favorites is Rocket Man. That is because they took the concept of Elton John, not the man, what he believes in, what he stands for, and they didn't make a exact one-to-one translation about his life, but added in huge musical dance numbers to the everyday life of the artist using his music. If we are not going to tell the whole truth, and we're not because the person or their family is still alive, at least make it super entertaining. Do something fun. The James Brown movie with Chadwick Boseman is another one. The way they played with time and transition, showing maybe this aspect of the hardest working man in show business's life influenced another part, that was smart. He would walk in a door and appear out of that door frame in another time in that character's life. Here, we did get a little bit with the visions. They showed Jamaica, the fields of Jamaica burning. But for me, it never cumulated into an actual thing. Final verdict. If you are already a Bob Marley fan, you will watch this shit. But just know that you are going to want to watch something more to get the full essence of the legacy of Marley. You will want to listen to the music, see the performances. Hell, watch Marley the documentary on Amazon Prime. I was put on that a little while ago and I'm glad. It gives a much more encompassing look into the life of this legendary musician. You know what? Watch that shit instead. So I guess I'm going with don't watch this shit. For those that are interested in getting to know more about Marley, the people who don't know anything about him as of the present time, I want you to follow the same avenues as the people that I told that are already fans to do. And then you will have a much more better appreciation of the man than if you would have watched this movie. Thank you for listening to another episode of Watch This Shit. You come here for the realest take on new movies. So make sure you follow us so you're not left in the dark on whether you should check out a new movie or not. If you haven't seen this shit yet, go on about your life. Don't even worry about it. Matter of fact, you're doing good. Damn, you're doing good. Check us out next time when we review Demon Slayer, Kimetsu no Yaiba to the Harishima training. And good day to you.